The Middle East is currently navigating its most precarious moment in recent history, standing on the precipice of a full-scale regional conflict that observers have feared for decades. We are witnessing a rapid unraveling of the status quo following the events of February 28th. The joint military operation conducted by the United States and Israel against Iran has fundamentally altered the strategic landscape. Reports confirming the success of these strikes indicate a complete decapitation of the Iranian leadership structure. The top echelon of the Supreme Council has been neutralized, and intelligence now suggests that the Supreme Leader himself, Ali Khamenei, was among the targets successfully eliminated during this offensive. Furthermore, emerging reports regarding an interim successor suggest that the command vacuum may be even deeper than initially assessed, with potential replacements also being neutralized in rapid succession. From a military standpoint, the skies over Iran have effectively been open. American and Israeli air forces are currently operating with near total freedom across Iranian airspace. The once touted air defense network of the Islamic Republic appears to have been degraded to the point of non-existence, offering little to no resistance against incoming sorties. However, we must temper expectations regarding immediate political transformation. If the ultimate objective of this campaign is regime change, it will not be a simple or swift process. While the air defenses are gone, the IRGC and the Quds Force remain fully activated and entrenched on the ground. They hold significant power and are likely to fight resolutely to maintain control. For Washington and Tel Aviv, this moment represents a singular, fleeting window of opportunity to force a change, but the path forward remains fraught with asymmetrical warfare. The conflagration that began on February 28th is not being contained. It is expanding by the hour. Iran is not sitting idly by. We are seeing a lethal retaliation strategy that employs a mix of ballistic missiles and the notorious Shahed-136 kamikaze drones. These unmanned aerial vehicles, with a range of approximately 2,000 kilometers, are being deployed to strike targets far beyond the immediate conflict zone. What is particularly concerning is the widening of the target list. Tehran is now striking at Sunni nations in the Gulf, specifically targeting countries that host American military bases. We have confirmed reports of attempted strikes targeting infrastructure in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Interestingly, Oman remains the sole exception in this barrage, likely due to its historical role as a diplomatic mediator in the region. The situation is equally volatile in the maritime domain. The Strait of Hormuz has essentially been closed to commercial traffic, choking a vital artery of global energy. We can expect this to escalate further, with Houthi forces intensifying their targeting of vessels in the Red Sea and off the coast of the Gulf of Aden. Additionally, proxy groups, including Hezbollah and Hamas, are expected to increase their activity in a coordinated effort to stretch the resources of the US-Israeli alliance. Regarding the defense of these Gulf nations, it is crucial to separate the optical panic from the tactical reality. There is widespread alarm in places like Dubai due to the sheer volume of incoming projectiles. However, what is often lost in the immediate reporting is the high efficacy of the anti-ballistic missile defense systems deployed by the United Arab Emirates and its allies.
The interception rate is estimated to be as high as 99%. The chaotic scenes of fire and smoke witnessed on social media are in large part the result of falling debris from neutralized missiles. When a ballistic missile is intercepted in the upper atmosphere, the wreckage must fall somewhere, and this debris field can cause fires and casualties, creating a perception of failure even when the defense system has worked as designed. However, the shield is not impenetrable. We've seen instances where projectiles have breached these defenses. In Kuwait and Bahrain, missiles have made impact. More critically, Israel itself has faced successful strikes. Tel Aviv was hit just 2 nights ago when a ballistic missile managed to evade the multi-layered defense grid. Furthermore, a tragic incident occurred yesterday in Bet Shemesh, where a missile strike resulted in the deaths of 8 people. These breaches underscore the reality that while defensive tech is advanced, the sheer volume of a saturation attack can overwhelm even the most sophisticated systems. As we move forward, forward, it is likely that the Gulf countries will seek to establish a more formalized joint defense architecture to tackle these swarm attacks collectively as the region braces for what comes next in this rapidly evolving war. There is a palpable sense of general panic sweeping through the region, and while this anxiety is understandable given the visuals we are seeing, it is crucial to analyze the situation based on cold, hard facts. The reality remains that the sophisticated anti-ballistic missile defense systems employed by the Gulf countries have largely worked as designed. Let me state that very clearly to you because observers watching Indian television channels and global news feeds are becoming afraid based on incomplete information. The fact remains that the majority of what is being perceived as successful strikes is actually missile debris coming down after interception. However, the kinetic situation is undeniably evolving. The other critical aspect we are witnessing is that the Iranian proxy, specifically Hezbollah, has initiated targeting operations in northern Israel, and we saw the inevitable retaliation come this morning from Israeli defense forces. Consequently, you will see Iranians trying to expand the war, basically hitting even at Sunni countries. This is not random. They are targeting these nations because they happen to support the United States military effort or they happen to host strategic bases. We are talking about nations such as Qatar, the UAE, specifically at Al Dhafra, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and Kuwait. Tehran is now trying to expand the conflict to create a specific type of political pressure on the Arab street, inciting the populations to revolt against their own leaders because these governments happen to support what the Iranians refer to as the Great Satan, the United States. He is trying to drive a wedge between the rulers and the ruled. That is exactly how this game is being played out geopolitically. On the operational front, the United States and the Israelis are operating quite freely as far as Iranian airspace goes. The assessment indicates there is hardly any integrated air defense left over there. This allows them to target at will, utilizing the absolute best of Western military technology. While their targeting has been precise and they have been able to hit what they wanted, we must ask, what is their ultimate objective?
The stated objective is regime change. Now, President Donald Trump has talked about a war which is going to extend for 4 weeks as of this morning. However, targeting a specific facility is one matter, while achieving total regime change is a completely different and far more complex matter. This process is going to take a lot of time. The war is there right now, and it is going to continue for quite some time, because if the objective is indeed regime change in Iran, it is not going to come so easily. The IRGC and the Quds Force are still fully activated on the ground. It is not as if they have been decimated. The pro-Ayatollah and pro-Khomeini factions are still there and very much alive. For a transition to occur, it is up to the protesters or the opposition parties to rise up and produce a moderate leader or someone the public can identify with to actually establish a moderate regime in Iran. If that happens, a whole lot of other positive shifts could occur within the Middle East, but we are not there yet. The war has effectively just started. Let me say that to you because the Strait of Hormuz has been effectively closed. Next, you will see how the targeting operations escalating in the Red Sea. You will see how the targeting off the coast of the Gulf of Aden. You will see Hezbollah active. You will see Hamas active. You will see flare-ups in other places. The only mitigating factor is that the Iranian proxies have been hit very hard by Israel recently, so it is becoming very difficult for them to retaliate with their usual force. Another logistical reality is that there is a finite missile arsenal with Iran. There is a finite drone arsenal with Iran. One has to wait and see when that inventory depletes because they cannot continue firing forever. It is a constantly evolving situation. It is a constantly changing landscape where you have a bunch of misinformation coming through various social media channels talking about various things that simply are not happening. For instance, there was someone talking yesterday about 4 ballistic missiles attacking the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier. Well, nothing could be further from the truth because if you look at people on the ground and naval reports, they know exactly what is happening over there. Then there are unsubstantiated reports of hundreds of Americans being killed and other sensationalist claims. One has to carefully sift through all this noise, but what you see clearly is that the war is there to stay until such time as there is a regime change, because for the Americans and the Israelis, this is the only opportunity when they will be able to do it. You had mentioned the list of places in the Gulf that are being attacked, or rather where we are seeing missile debris fall, and the question arises, why exactly is this happening in Gulf nations? Why is there fallout taking place in that specific region? It is a very good question, but I will take you back to a different perspective to explain it. October 7th, 2023 was the Hamas attack on Israel. That
terrorist attack, where thousands got killed, was a turning point. Significantly, that was also the time when the Gulf countries, India, and European powers were virtually decided on launching the India-Middle East Economic Corridor. Once the attack happened, everything regarding that project went shut. First of all, we must look at the economic rise of the Gulf. If you look at it right now, you see the UAE, under the leadership of President Mohammed bin Zayed, has emerged as one of the best places to do business in the world. People from the United Kingdom are shifting there. People from all over the world are converging over there. It is an economy that is glowing and really expanding in a big way. Similarly, Saudi Arabia is changing rapidly under the leadership of the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. If you look at the deep history, there are two major legacy powers. One is the Ottoman Empire, whose legacy is modern Turkey, and the other is the Persian Empire, whose legacy is the current regime in Iran. Historically, they think they were running the show. Somehow, they find these two upstarts, these Bedouin Arabs who have come up rapidly, and that is something which they may not like. So the targeting of Dubai essentially is a strategic move to pull it down, pull its economic value down, and destabilize it. The targeting of Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Qatar is happening for the same reason. So in a way, it is also a very negative sentiment that is being played out over there, and they are being targeted to send a message. They are telling them, listen, if you side with the Americans, we are going to hit you. Now, they happen to be Sunni nations, but that is not the primary reason why all this is happening. The Iranians are playing their game, which they have been doing time and again, to tell the world that they are the leaders of the Islamic world. Well, they are the leaders of the Shia world, perhaps, but they want to be seen as the leaders of the entire Islamic world. This is similar to how the Turkish leaders think that they are the heirs to the Ottoman Empire and believe they should be the people who should be looked up to. It is a complicated game. It has been played out for a long time now. Possibly what will happen is that maybe the Gulf countries will start looking at some sort of a joint defense architecture where they can tackle these threats collectively. But both sides are playing hard. The Iranians want to decimate Israel and humiliate what they call the United States Saturn. They leave no opportunity and no option, perhaps, for Israel but to target them, because Israel's own existence is in question. Americans have to tackle them because they are also targets of the Iranian proxies, the Iranian setup, the Quds Force, and various other entities. It is a complicated game, and I think it is all now crystallized to a place where it will lead to some sort of a deep division. However, as we watch the Prime Minister chair the Cabinet Committee on Security meeting, we must remember that a regime change is easier said than done in Iran. The clear-cut ramification of the closing of the Strait of Hormuz and the targeting of tankers at high seas using kamikaze drones is that the oil prices may go up significantly due to the shortage of supply.